Yes. Welcome back to another episode of Go Long Live. It is Friday night, and I feel all right. My name is Barry Long II, not the first, not the third. I am the second. We are live on CoachellaValley.com, live on today'scalifornia.com. We are also live on today'scanada.com. Hopefully everybody is having a great Friday evening. We're going to talk some sports today. Of course, we always talk sports right here on Go Long Live. Let me bring in my main man, Rudy Ramon Reyes. Rudy, how you doing, boss?
Hey, man, I am doing good. You know, it's all about Friday. And if you're feeling all right, everybody should be chiming in, tuning in, sharing it, liking it, and loving it.
Can't really see you. Oh, there you go. What's going on, boss?
What's going on? No,
So
everybody needs to be involved in this process. If you got any
Absolutely.
comments, statements, observations, anything you want to say, comment below, and I'll be sure to get back to you and answer any questions you might have.
Shout out to Bill Senso, who already commented in, said, hi, Barry and Rudy. We love you, Bill. We appreciate everything you do. And
on demand.
So let me ask you this real quick before we get into these sports stories. So Batman's coming out. Are you a Batman guy? Are you a Superman guy? Are you a Spider-Man guy? I'm a Batman guy. I'll tell you why. Because Batman had the baddest car. He had the baddest chick because he had Catwoman. He had the nicest house, and he had a butler. He didn't have any superpowers. He basically rolled in there and was just ready to duke it out. Bam, pow, wow, wham. Are you a Batman guy?
I do enjoy a good Batman movie, and I can't wait to actually watch the new Batman movie. I'm very excited about it. You know, I'll be honest with you. I grew up a Spider-Man guy. As a matter of fact, short story, I actually drew Spider-Man, sent it into Marvel Comics, and asked him for an opportunity to be a part of the Marvel crew who obviously drew Spider-Man, of course, a little young, and I didn't get the job. So that was
well, you drew. I mean,
that was my first no. Give it to me by a large entity, and of course, it wasn't Marvel Entertainment. It was just Marvel Comics.
That's what's up, man. Well, we are going to talk some sports today. We're going to talk about the Lakers. The Lakers have been playing terrible. They lost to 21 points to the Clippers the other night. It was just a terrible loss. They continue to lose. They've lost 8 of their last 10 games. We're going to talk whether or not we think that they're going to make the play-in tournament, and much less, make it to the actual playoffs, but they might not even make it to the play-in tournament.
We're also going to answer you say no. I'm going to say no in advance. We can say that whole dialogue for another time because they're not making nothing. They can't even make it 3 months less than a play-in tournament.
We're also going to talk LeBron James and whether or not he should shut it down, because he looks frustrated out there. The team is not playing well. They're not playing defense. They're not playing hard. So we're going to talk whether or not we believe LeBron James should shut it down. We're also going to talk amongst these 5 top MVP candidates in the NBA. We got Jokic, you got Embiid, you got Ja Morant, you got DeRozan, you got Giannis. So we're going to talk whether or not we think who's going to be the MVP. We're also going to talk about DeAndre Jordan. He just signed a deal to finish the remainder of the season with the 76ers. So we'll talk that. And then we'll talk some football news. Yes, we got the combine going on, but we actually got some free agents, some trade news going on. Amari Cooper is about to be released or cut or traded from the Dallas Cowboys. So we'll talk that more. But right now, let's jump right into the Lakers. We've seen the Lakers lose 8 of their last 10. Frank Vogel is on the sideline looking just like this, perplexed, doesn't know what to do because his team seems to be tuning him out. They seem to be just not playing hard whatsoever. It's been like this all season long. But, when you brought in a Russell Westbrook to pair with a LeBron James, and you thought that Anthony Davis might be healthy this season, the expectations were championship or bust. I mean, this is finally a chance for Russell Westbrook to play alongside LeBron James, and we thought that maybe some kind of way that they would be able to gel and the chemistry would happen immediately, like it does for most of the times when we see LeBron James have new teammates. Now, they've turned this roster over 3 different times, and we've seen LeBron James be able to get the most out of most of the guys that come in. I mean, he got J.R. Smith, the most out of him, the most out of Amon Shepard. We saw him get the most out of a Matthew Dellavedova. He seemed to have been able to get the most out of Anthony Davis, but he's got injury problems. You thought Russell Westbrook, this is his chance. He's an LA native. He plays hard. He's going to be able to eat up the majority of those minutes during the beginning first 3 quarters. But it just hasn't seemed to work out whatsoever. And whether or not it's Frank Vogel's fault, whether or not it's their defense and their mentality going out there, or whether or not it's Rob Pelinka's fault for putting together this old roster, it just seems like the Lakers are going to miss the play-in tournament, in my opinion. I think that down the stretch they have some tough games. I think the only easy game they have is against the Pelicans, and we saw what they did against the Pelicans a couple of weeks ago. So I think that they're at extreme risk of losing and missing the play-in tournament, and I think that it might be time to just shut it down. What do you think?
I look at this Lakers team and I think to myself, this is not the Lake show. This is more like the fake show. You're faking guys who can't even get down the court. You have Russell Westbrook, who's like a turd in a punch bowl. He doesn't fit anywhere in this offensive scheme. AD's
a turd in a punch bowl.
Yeah, when you find one of those, the party's over. It's time to turn off the lights.
Not even in the pool, man. In the punch bowl. Good God.
Yeah, forget the pool. It's too large of a body of water. You're not going to miss it in a punch bowl. You may miss it in the filter. I'm just saying that when you look at this Lakers team and the way they've not been playing, I'm going to say the way they've been playing, because their way they've been playing needs to be thrown out the window at 150 miles an hour, because they're just not getting it done. They're not taking care of the ball. They're careless with the ball. Their transition defense is absolutely pathetic. There's so many things that are wrong with this team. It's hard to find any type of shining spot when it comes to Russell Westbrook and where he fits in this offense. LeBron James has been able to carry people throughout his tenure. The problem that I have is that LeBron James is a guy who's been very consistent. The fact that he's 37 years old, he doesn't need any more chips. He's trying to win another one for Los Angeles. I don't think anybody needs to shut it down. You need to gut this roster out. You need to fire Vogel and start all over again.
Frank Vogel?
Fire Frank Vogel. I don't say let LeBron James turn this thing down, because right now it's almost too precarious to believe that somebody who's so into the game, who's so into every single play. I mean, he's the only one in double digits who's done it at the consistency and the rate that LeBron James has done it throughout his entire career. The problem is there's no supporting cast to help him. You said it earlier, Barry, in regards to Russell Westbrook. He was supposed to be part of the answer to this double ARP lineup. And I keep saying that, but that's really, and they're starting to show their age. They're starting to wear down. You see them not taking care of the ball. They have a horrible offensive schemes. Their sets are pathetic. They don't know where the ball's going. This is bad. This is really bad. And then they're going to take on a Golden State team in Los Angeles. Good luck with that. This is more about Steph Curry. Klay Thompson's scheduled to be back. I think he will be. And I think that when you look at the Golden State Warriors, you're talking 1, 2, 3 between Phoenix, and Phoenix right now is leading the New York Knicks in Phoenix early in the second quarter. So a lot of things to really like about Golden State, and obviously nothing to like about the Lakers.
Absolutely. And when you look at this picture right here, 6-0, that's about how old the Lakers roster, the average age is on the roster, because it's full of old guys. And Rob Pelinka
at the door.
And Rob Pelinka has turned this roster over 3 different times in the last 3 years for LeBron James, because when you have a LeBron James, the window is now, and the window is closing right now for LeBron James's career. Like you said, he's 37 years old. And when you place people around him and pieces around LeBron James, you can have him be the main facilitator. What you need is you have to have enough perimeter shooting on the floor at all times so LeBron can drive and kick. Like Giannis Antetokounmpo is the same kind of guy when you put pieces around him. And Rob Pelinka, although he's been criticized a lot this season, and a lot of people think that he should be fired, I feel like, give him another opportunity, another year to turn this roster over, because he's proved that he can turn the roster over. And he went out and made bold moves to go and get Anthony Davis and won a championship that way. Now, Frank Vogel, in regards to him, I do believe, honestly, that it is time for Frank Vogel to be gone, because when we look at Frank Vogel coach teams, going back to Indiana Pacers, he always had defense first. He's like a Tom Thibodeau. His whole set and his whole coaching style is predicated upon playing defense and playing hard at that. And we're seeing this team play the worst defense that any Frank Vogel team has ever played, and they're playing the softest. They're not playing hard at all. So when you take away the 2 top things that Frank Vogel brings to the table, in regards to the Lakers, he's not doing it. So they're either tuning him out, or they just feel like or he's tuning them out. One or the
He's
other.
actually lost a locker room when you look at how these guys play and the lack of communication, the ball movement. Sharing is caring, but they don't know how to share the ball, and the fluency for which they actually pass the ball around is by far some of the worst body mechanics I think I've ever seen. Kendrick Perkins nailed it on the head. He cannot believe how this Lakers team has been playing. It's really strange to go retro 2 years. They won a championship in a bubble.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that there are certain levels of achievements the Dodgers did in 62 games.
I mean, do you put an
It was a
asterisk
shortened
next
season.
to that?
No, absolutely not, because they played what they could play. They played within a very secure, safe, sound, clean, sanitized environment, and that's what you should expect any normal season. But that season was nowhere near normal at all.
Normal.
So
and people will argue that they had like a 3-month break, because we know when the pandemic first happened, everybody was scared to touch anything, go anywhere. So they didn't win it. They didn't win until July. So a lot of people argue that they had such a long break that if the season had just gone straight through, that they wouldn't have won, because LeBron James was getting up there in age and AD was injury prone. So they had a chance to get healthy, get their bodies right. And a lot of people would argue that teams like the Clippers, who didn't even want to be in the bubble, who voted against being in the bubble, were not playing hard. So and it was a shortened season. So people would say that, just to play devil's advocate. But I believe that championship was even harder to win than a regular championship because of the circumstances. What say you?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you have tons of restrictions. You can't fly out. You got to stay inside. You have kids that you can only talk to through Facebook or iMess or FaceTime or in any other method. I mean, heck, shoot up a flare, write a letter, send a pigeon. I mean, there was only so many ways that you could communicate with people on the outside, and everybody had found a way to get that done. No families, no wives, and eventually those restrictions were eased. But that was eventually, and not by much. It was very, very little, and they had to be checked at the door. They were scanned with temperature checks. It was just a bad scene. So no asterisks for the Lakers. But here's what's going on the other side of Los Angeles, where another team plays.
Yes,
as some people want to call them, the Squatters or the Clickers or whatever you want to call them. They swept the Lakers this year. Swept the Lakers.
And Reggie Jackson went off last night. I mean,
he was on fire.
Yeah,
he should have been arrested for LA native. Should have been arrested for breaking somebody's ankles during that game for almost almost murder type of play that he put on. It was a serious clinic. And if there was any clinic, it was a Reggie Jackson clinic, not to be confused with a baseball player, Reggie Jackson. But the kind of guy where they just ended up rallying and dismantling the Lakers whatsoever. They were teased by the Clippers fans. But oddly enough, it's where the Lakers played too, at Crypto.com Arena. So there were some Lakers fans there, and until the Clippers get their own spot, this is where they're going to be. Of course, Steve Ballmer over and exuberantly excited.
He's got the coin. He's definitely got the coin.
It's really shocking to me to see him not have an LA Clippers tattoo on him somewhere. I'm just saying.
He's crazy. He's probably got one. He's probably got pierced nipples.
Probably real tiny one on his ankle in honor of a cancer movement or something. But no, I mean, there's this West is locked up. If the Lakers entered in the play tournament today, they'd be the first team out because they could not finish this play-in series.
Now, if you're LeBron James, we are live on CoachellaValley.com. We are live on Today's California, Today'sCanada.com, all over Twitter, all over the universe. Now, Rudy Reyes, if you are LeBron James, are you gonna gut this thing out for the rest of the season? Like, let's say you lose the next couple games and you start slipping down, and you're like, are you shutting it down? Or if you're LeBron James, you're playing out all the way through?
I'm playing all the way through.
I don't see him. I don't see him sitting out at all.
He is not that kind of guy. Now, if there's anybody who has been sitting out who will continue to sit out, that's Anthony Davis. Oh, wait, he's injured. I wonder why he's going to be sitting out.
Get rid of this
Real
guy.
Head scratcher there. I'm just saying, you better buy out and call it a day. And that's part of the roster gutting that's going to go on in the offseason, because this is going to end up a lot uglier later when rumors of people transferring out of the portal When I say portal, I mean the Lakers portal onto other places in the NBA. Now, in all fairness, the Lakers have 17 chips, so it's not as if they don't know how to win. It's just a question of when you think about winning. And that's exactly where the Lakers are right about now. When you look at the Eastern Conference, that's a whole nother animal. Things are a little bit tighter. You have an exact tie within the Eastern Conference tonight. Earlier, you had the Milwaukee Bucks beating Chicago in Chicago, and the Bulls, and them now have identical records. So it makes you wonder who's going to be the 1-2 out of the East. And of course, James Harden continues to be that guy with the 76ers. And Embiid, this is almost like too good to be true for a guy whose mileage exceeds his warranty. But when you look at James Harden and what he's been doing, it's just absolutely astonishing to see where he came from with the Nets, with the limited minutes, limited time, limited capabilities, being a part of that. Good evening, Maria. Thank you so much for chiming in. We appreciate it greatly, I must say.
So who do you have winning the East? Because when you look at the standings, you at the top. I mean, you got the Heat, you got the Bulls, you got all these teams that are just randomly, making this surge late in the season, and they've been playing consistent all season long. But they've been winning a lot lately. So when you look at the Heat, do you think the Heat have a chance to win the East? Because they're a deep team, and they get Kyle Lowry back. They play hard defense with Bam Adebayo becoming a star that he's become this season and the past couple of seasons. And then you got a guy like Jimmy Butler who can at any time lock down your best wing defender, your best wing player, or your best guard. So they do have guys at all three levels that can really do this. I wouldn't call that a big three, but I would definitely call that a serviceable three. And then you've got shooters like Duncan, and you've got guys like Tyler Herro on the outside. So this is a dangerous team when it comes down to the East. I still like the 76ers because of that duo. And call me a prisoner of the moment. But who do you think wins the East? And does Miami have a chance?
I think, look, whenever you touch the court, you have a chance. We've spoken about this before. When you look at Milwaukee being the last, season's champs, you always have to think to yourself, man, Antetokounmpo is a guy who seems to get inside of the paint and make it count.
You make his last name sound Spanish.
No, that's the only way I know how to pronounce it. I didn't say Acapulco. I said Antetokounmpo.
Antetokounmpo.
You got to put some respect on his name, and that's the only way I know how. But he's so dominant inside of the paint. He's long, he's lengthy. He's a guy that knows how to slam it down when the opportunity presents itself. Milwaukee, I mean, there's so many things to like about this Milwaukee team right now. It's hard to pick against them considering they're the reigning champs. But more importantly, it's not the regular season that really means a whole lot. I mean, it does as you're nearing towards the end of the regular season, but when you look at postseason, that's when you really got to turn it on. And that's why I believe that at the end of the day, the Lakers in the Western Conference not going to get it done. Milwaukee, on the other hand, is turning it up just like they did tonight against Chicago. So as far as Miami's concerned, I love that. I love that Hero has a step named after him. It's called the Hero Step. For obvious reasons. But when you look at Jimmy Butler, and I'm sure he feels bad. I'm sure he feels horrible trying to be that guy, to say, well, we lost in the postseason, in a series, and now all of a sudden we find ourselves in a completely different situation. And now we got to play right back into this play-in tournament. I think a play-in tournament is really where you get your best, best of the best. Because these guys really need to know how to turn it on. So as far as who's coming out of the East, to answer your question, there's still tons of basketball to be played, and it boils down to like 0.3 seconds on any given shot clock to either win it or lose it, or even send it to overtime. But right now you can't tongue twister.
Spit it out.
Out the Bucks.
Yeah, you can't count the Bucks
out Miami or the Bulls, who seem to make a run in the third quarter against Milwaukee. Nope, no fighting here.
No fighting here. We are not fighting.
No
You
fighting.
want some? You want some?
There,
Put them up.
there is no ding ding going on
Well,
here.
let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. A better fight, though. Let's talk about this MVP race, because this has been one of the best MVP races that we've seen in a long time in the NBA. Because normally it's a clear cut favorite. The writers are going to go out and pick, and there's going to be a narrative surrounding one player every single year, like we saw the Giannis year, the Russell Westbrook triple-double year, the Steph Curry year. They were just runaway. Steph Curry was a unanimous vote. So we've seen, when we get down to the last couple of weeks of the season, usually we already know who the clear-cut MVP is. But this year we have 5 different guys that it could be. It could potentially be DeMar DeRozan. It could potentially be Joel Embiid. It could be this guy, Giannis Antetokounmpo, who we just spoke about. It could be Jokic. It's a lot of people that are up here, and this guy Ja Morant has just now entered into the MVP race with the way that he's been playing. So I want to ask you who your current NBA MVP is. Mine, I really like DeMar DeRozan this season. He's my second pick right now because DeMar DeRozan is averaging a career high in points. He's taking it to a next level. He is hungry for a championship, because if you remember, when Kawhi Leonard goes to Toronto and wins a championship, he gets traded for Jakob Poeltl, and he gets traded for this guy, DeMar DeRozan. And DeMar DeRozan basically had to sit back and watch that guy take his team to the top, to the mountaintop, and they didn't even send him a ring in the mail. So this guy is one of the top players in the league that's been underrated for a long time, and I feel like he has now stepped into the center stage. So I like the fact that he's even entered into the MVP discussion. This is the first time it's ever happened for him in his career, but I don't think that he's winning right now. I think that this guy, Jokic, has a lead right now, and he has averaged career highs last year all throughout all his numbers, but this year he stepped it up, and now he's averaging 13.8 assists a game, where he averaged 10.8 assists last year in his MVP season. So I think that this guy's been taking it to the next level. You've also got to consider that this is the most valuable player award, okay? He's the most valuable to his team right now because he doesn't have help from Michael Porter Jr., who can light it up on any given night, and he does not have Jamal Murray, who is a superstar in this league as well. So he's basically carrying this entire Nuggets team by himself. And for that reason, I like Jokic as my MVP. Who is your MVP, Rudy?
Well, I really like the Joker. The Joker is a guy who just shows consistency. He gets punched in the face, the mouth, the nose, the head. Yeah. I mean, he is one absolute beast inside of the paint. He's got a nice three. He knows how to shoot within the paint. But you had mentioned DeMar DeRozan, who's a guy who scored 35 points in 8 straight games. 8 straight games. He only dropped 31 due to that loss to the Grizzlies. So you cannot count out DeMar DeRozan at all. Nobody has even thought about DeMar DeRozan as being a legitimate MVP, because you look at guys like Joel Embiid, who's now on fire with James Harden. We were talking about that earlier. And then you look at Antetokounmpo, and then you look at Devin Booker, who's also playing tonight without Chris Paul. So, I mean, Stephen Curry comes into effect. Ja Morant also making a ton of noise. We were just talking about those Grizzlies. But then you have Luka Doncic. Personally, I'm not a fan of Luka Doncic at all for a couple of reasons. He whines a little too much. And he tries to get the referees in on whatever he's smelling, whatever smelling salts he's a part of. He certainly wants to get everybody involved in the process. I like his step back. I really, but that's more like a hero step, and this is almost a copycat league, like the NFL. When you look at guys doing the very same thing, and it seems to be working for them, it seems to be working for him as well in the NBA. But then you can't count out Kevin Durant and what he's been doing coming back from injury. And then, of course, LeBron James, who's been doing a ton.
And he should be in the discussion every single year, I feel like. You know what I mean? Like, LeBron James is
7 years old. He puts $1 million into his body. He's a guy who continues to defy gravity and to define what it is to be a professional. To be a guy who knows how to get it done, whether or not he has a supporting cast, obviously to him is almost irrelevant. But the problem is that you need to have one, and you can't beat any team by yourself.
So let's talk about we are live on CoachellaValley.com, today'scalifornia.com, as well as today'scanada.com. Thank you to Cat Reyes, who is also commenting, and Young Tyke O and Maria and Bilson. So we appreciate everybody for watching live. Comment, and we will read your comments as well.
Live.
Now we got some football to talk real quick. The Cowboys are expected to cut or trade Amari freaking Cooper. Now Amari Cooper is a part of this supposed to be juggernaut offense from the Cowboys. They put up some good points. They put up some points a couple nights, and sometimes they look rather pedestrian. But Dak Prescott certainly loves Amari Cooper and has enjoyed him being one of his weapons that he's had the past few years. Now we know Amari Cooper just signed a 5-year, $100 million contract in 2020. So he's only played 2 years into this contract. So $20 million receiver who's had some injury concerns, and he's, not been the top receiver in the league like he has potential to be, but he has definitely performed well. I feel like, Amari Cooper, they had to get him off the books because they're paying their quarterback a ton of money, and they've got other things that they need to address right now. So they know that there's going to be a lot of wide receivers in this draft. If you're watching the Combine on NFL Network, you would know, but Amari Cooper, where do you expect him to land at this point? And do you think that he's a good fit for which team?
I'll be honest with you. I expected nothing but the best from Amari Cooper. He's shown that time and time again, but with injuries, cap space being an issue, and if he resigns, that's a $20 million base salary, signing bonus of $2 million. Which really hits the cap, but it also, there's dead money associated with that at $28 million. So you look at a guy like him who's been doing relatively decent. I don't know that he fits necessarily in this Cowboys offense now that they're trying to rework a deal with Michael Gallup, which certainly will help them in the short passing game. And then you have CeeDee Lamb in the long passing game. And then you have Schultz, certainly you can always franchise tag him and you're good to go. If you're Jerry Jones, master when it comes to signing and not signing guys. And we've seen what he's done to coaches and the money he didn't spend on Troy Aikman, even though Troy Aikman got it in the end and won titles for him, and now on to Amazon to do their work. Actually, he went to ESPN, excuse me.
Yeah, Monday Night Football.
His payday is huge now that Brian Griese is going to be the San Francisco 49ers quarterback coach. So a lot
Griese
of things
trying to get into coaching. I like that.
Hey, I like the numbers, but I don't like the headaches associated with those numbers. So I'm going to pass. That's a hard pass for me. Being a hard pass. So, as far as where he fits, I don't think it'll be known yet. And don't forget, free agency is just under 2 weeks away. So we don't really know who, what, when, how, and why until those teams decide to either franchise tag, trade, or release. And I think they'll have a better chance trading Amari Cooper than they would in just cutting him and calling it a day, because they know they can get some type of return on their investment, considering his numbers have been really, really good for the last couple of seasons coming over from then Oakland Raiders. So I like where this is going for him. It's all about payday, right? So he helped out Derek Carr get his huge payday. He helped out Dak Prescott get his huge payday.
He absolutely did.
He has helped quarterbacks
Amari Cooper out here making millionaires.
That's right, and he's making his own money. So make no mistake, there's going to be a great landing spot for him. And it's really tough to know. I know the Houston Texans would be a great place for him. He gets to stay in the state of Texas, gets to play on the AFC side of the ball. And of course, you don't have Deshaun Watson, but that gives Wells an opportunity to throw it to a potential Hall of Famer in Amari Cooper, as long as he can keep production up. And if he does, then he'll be good to go. And I think that's for any team for that matter.
Yeah, and I think that he ends up landing on a random team like the Jacksonville Jaguars, who need weapons. They need weapons bad. They certainly have draft picks. He might end up on a team like the Browns, who need weapons, or even the Bills, because the Bills, we just heard that Cole Beasley is now able to go out and seek his own trade. So having a 1-2 punch like Stephon Diggs on one side and Amari Cooper, it'd be pick your poison at that point for Josh Allen. So, but yeah, it's sad news that he's leaving, but they've got some weapons over there still for the Cowboys. So it's not really like he's irreplaceable, But when you look at what his contract situation is, it's time for them to part ways. And we wish the best for Amari Cooper, and we'll definitely continue to follow this story as it develops. Now, real quick, let's get into this meme of the day, because I did say the Browns, and we know what's going on overseas as far as with Ukraine and everything. We wish everybody over there their safety, because it is just a dangerous situation. It's developing as we speak. But not to make light of any situation that's terrible, but this is pretty good. From NFL Memes IG, breaking: the United States government is reportedly sending Baker Mayfield overseas as he gives us the best chance to overthrow Russia. Hey, he's an overthrower. He is. He seriously is.
So are you sending him over with a torn labrum then, or are you sending him over with a repair labrum? Which one is it? And he's going to wear a leather harness to look like a dictator, or
he's a gunslinger, bro. He's a gunslinger, bro.
Well, there you go. Then give him a gun pouch, and have him do this number. That kind of thing.
Yeah. I love Baker, though. I love his swagger. I love his moxie. And I think that people were too harsh on Baker this year. I mean, Baker Mayfield, we saw what he was capable of doing, and when he was with Oklahoma, and we've seen him have a great season, his first season in the league. And we've seen him, what he can do when he's healthy. And this year he's dealing with a foot. He's dealing with the labrum. He's dealing with this. He's dealing with that. So I think that, just after he gets back healthy, then we can have a clear assessment of Baker Mayfield. But when you're watching those commercials and talking about he's protecting his house for the progressive, it's that stadium. Like, what are they going to do? What is their campaign going to be when he gets cut or when he gets traded? Like, that won't be his house anymore. So he won't be able to, I don't know, man, but we'll see.
It's no longer going to be the dog house.
Yeah.
At least not his house anyway. But no, I mean, he threw a lot of interceptions last season as well. So, hopefully that repair on that labrum will actually do him some justice. And, I wish him the best in recovery there.
Absolutely. Rudy, let them know where they can find you at, boss.
No, you can go to @RudDogReyes on Twitter. You can find this episode and many others at theruddogShow.com. Just go to Go Long Live on the tab.
For sure,
so it's just click over there and click over here, click there, everywhere, click. And you can find me on LinkedIn. You can go anywhere for that matter, and you'll find me. I'm not hard to find, like Tupac. I'm not hard to find.
Did you say like Tupac? Oh my God. Y'all can find me on Twitter at Radio Very Long. You can find me on IG at Very Long II, or on Facebook, the way it's written right here. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Stay focused, stay motivated, stay inspired, and remember, you're capable of doing anything, so go out and do it. We'll talk to you on Monday. Peace.